Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about thermal printers. So let's dive right into it. Now, what exactly we are talking about? Well, it's in the name, thermal, meaning it uses heat for printing. Be very mindful, there is no ink, meaning it's an ink-free process, meaning there is no toner, there is no liquid ink, nothing. So that's the whole point. Everything happens just on the paper itself. And it's a purpose-built tool. For example, whenever you are talking about laser printer, you will see laser printer manufacturer touting their equipment as a multi-purpose tool. And inkjet, again, generally most of them are multi-purpose. Some can do amazing things also. So they are multi-purpose tool. However, this puppy on the other hand, it's one thing. It's like, I'm built for this, I'm very awesome at this, don't even come close to me. It's like purpose built tool. Now it's very small and efficient, and I will explain what that efficient part means. Small as in like it can be so small that you can literally have in your waist and you won't even notice it. But be very mindful, generally most of the time they are only monochromatic, meaning the color could change, meaning instead of black you can have red or yellow, but most of the time it will be just monochromatic. And most of them are dithered rather than grayscale, meaning if you send command to a printer, most of the printers generally they will never give you any black and white value. They will always give you full ink or no ink. Now like, wait a minute, how the heck I get color then? Well, if you use a microscope to look into your photo, you will notice like, okay, there is a lot more yellow dots versus a lot fewer green dots. Like, it's still dithered basically, but it's so small that you don't notice it. Laser printer can print you something like this, like a grayscale, because the dots, again, if you use a microscope, you go in, yeah, there is no gray dot there. It's just like less black, meaning blacks are spaced out, so it's giving an illusion of gray. So in true grayscale you won't have that, but be mindful, true grayscale printing is almost impossible cost effectively. So but some printers can achieve that. Some basically thermal printer can achieve that. Some toy printers, some printers are experimenting that for like photo printing, again just as a gimmick sort of thing, that can achieve that. And this does have a desirable effect. If you are printing something which has logos, it may come in handy. So people may pay a bit extra for a grayscale printer. Be very mindful, only few printers can do that, most are dithered. So generally it does not matter too much for most people's use, simply because either you are printing barcodes or you are printing text data. It does not matter too much. You do want in text like absolute black and absolute white for maximum contrast, so you can achieve that, but be very mindful. So if you are thinking, oh, I'm gonna print some postage stamp or something, like just something cute or something like that in my bill, don't expect it to look good, because you have to design it so it looks good in dithered mode most of the time. Some printers are grayscale compatible. Now, how does it work? Well, if it does not have any ink, it's very clear that it utilizes magic paper. So these custom thermal papers are the main magic ingredients. Now, be very mindful, even though this paper is a kind of almost an industry standard at this point in time, there is boatload of variable, meaning length and width all can be selected, meaning you can have something that is like, let's say 1 inch and like 500 feet across, 50 inch, and it's like very small. You can find all sort of varieties. Like ATMs generally have like very huge rolls. Point of sale one, because it's supposed to be handhold, they don't have very big rolls, and sometimes you don't really need very high width, so you will have very thin one. You can have XY, two variables you can control to extreme amounts, and it can print very long strip. There is no printing limit, meaning inherently if you have that very large roll, there is nothing physically stopping it. It's not like a A4 printing mechanism where it's limited. It's almost like a flex printer where you can inherently keep feeding the paper. It will just keep printing it as long as you want. Banner printer kind of scenario. It's almost something like that. Now, it has no moving carriages, which is very desirable. That's why it allows it to be so small and compact, meaning if you look at it, like what exactly is doing the work, that's it. Like there is just this basically a strip which is replacing the part of a roller, like how in a laser printer you have a roller that is depositing ink into the paper. Now that roller is getting charged by laser, where it's like, okay, depositing here, don't deposit ink here. Awesome, everything is awesome with that, but modern ones, instead of using lasers, have used a lot of tiny LEDs. So this is similar to that. So this x-axis, whole axis, has on-off point, so it does not need to physically move. If you are familiar with any old agencies, they may still be using dot matrix printer, like cut. You don't have to worry about that. Laser printer, you still have a laser that is reflecting on a mirror that is spinning, or have a like ludicrously large amount of LEDs. Don't have to worry about it. It's just resistor, far cheaper, far reliable, and compared to inkjet, super duper simple. Inkjets are like ludicrously complex when they are moving. So this only one axis. You only need one motor, and given the fact that we humans have been making motors for 100 years, we are very good and reliable in this puppy. So it has no moving carriages and only one main roller motor. And some of the high-end variants, basically generally intent for classy restaurants, they will have cutter add-ons, or also some shopping centers also desire that. Cutter simply gives you a clean cut rather than utilizing on like a blade and go you can just like whoosh, done, take it and go home. It does make it good of presentation, especially if you have to do a lot of small prints. Yeah, having an extra cutter does justify the cost. Or you can buy something that I have pre-cut stickers also on them, so that's up to you. So this has amazing workability range. Basically everywhere you can find them. Now, what about this magic paper that can just magically do things? Well, it does change color when exposed to heat. That's in the name, thermal paper, meaning it's thermally reactive. Now, how they're achieving it is rather ingenious. Basically, it has solid state matrix of dye. Think of this way, it has a toner, basically a unique type of toner there. However, that toner is quote unquote floating inside what we call stable acid matrix. Matrix is holding it together. So it's diffused and acid is like, I got this. I'm holding everything together. Now, when print head, basically the heater part, starts to heat up, that melts the matrix goes from a solid state to liquid state. Now it's an acidic liquid, so it reacts with the dye and dye changes the color. That's the whole point. You have an acid that's not reacting because it's in solid state, frozen state basically, and heater melts it, then it reacts and it changes color. Now you may because if you're thinking there is an actual reaction happening, it may be stable. Unfortunately, no, nobody has figured out how to do that. It's a metastable state, meaning it can change back. That's the biggest limitation of this puppy. Is like you can print as long as you want. It's super simple, reliable. Many of the machines can work for very long time, but the receipt that it creates is very short lasting, meaning you can just use a lighter and wipe it out. So that's a very, and not to mention, you may think, okay, you have to add heat. Not really. You can just like, if you leave it in a place where it's like exposed to UV lights, yeah, bye bye. That's the biggest issue with this puppy. It's a metastable state. Even though there is an actual reaction going on, that reaction is not a, it's almost like a, rather than a CD R or like writable discs, it's a rewritable disc. So consequence is that it will erode on its own. It will erode over time. So if you're like, okay, I'm gonna put this receipt somewhere safe, yeah, good luck. It will self annihilate itself. That is one of the issues, that it does not go to stable state, it goes to metastable state. Now, efficiency, I specified these printers are very efficient. What does that mean? That inherently means efficiency. Many of the time in business terms, generally people talk about money. While it is one vector, it's not the only vector. And many times if you buy something too cheap, you may end up losing money. Because one thing that is more important to business than cost of the equipment is the uptime. Meaning, for example, think of this way. You are dealing with a theater. You have a limited amount of time before you sell the ticket, because again, there is a time limit to that. The theater will start in this time. Imagine your printer broke at that point in time, or it's too slow. Not acceptable. So that is one of those things. The uptime of the machines is very important. So laser printer, while it may be good, but it does not have uptime close to this sort of machines. And why this is so reliable? Simply because if you take good care of it, meaning there is a fact that it has a heater element which is heating up, you have to clean them regularly, meaning let's say once every week. It has low moving parts, meaning there is only one motor, so inherently it can keep working for very long time. And even though when it does break down, it is super easy to replace and repair. So all those things considered is a really desirable factor for businesses. Businesses are like, dude, give me equipment that does cost more, I'm willing to pay for it, but as long as I can close my eyes and be like, hey, is it working? Yes. When I open my eyes, it should be working. It should not be like, is it working? No, that should not happen. It's like, is it working? Absolutely. So that again, engineering's first rule, complexity is the enemy of reliability. You want reliability, you want to remove complexity. This achieves that. Then it also has one consumable, which is really desirable for inventory managers. Meaning, if think of this way, you have laser printers. Let's say you are printing all your receipts in laser printer, everything is awesome, but here's a limit. How the heck you know how much paper your laser printer consuming? You can see it. You can be like, hey, is the tray empty? Not empty? Don't worry about it. If it's empty, put a whole sheet of paper. Awesome. Did you check the toner? Now you are like, okay, I will check that toner, but that's the issue. You have two variables to consider, and assume you have 5-6 printers. How would you know which of the printers are running low on the toners? Toners are not like liquid system. You have to replace the whole system. Even on tank toner system that HP has recently introduced, it's not that easy, so to say. So you have two variables that you have to manage. All the printers should have paper, all the printers should have ink, which may sound super easy, but imagine if you are dealing even with 10 printers, it will become a hassle. And I can guarantee you, you know, many shopping malls which have more than 10 printers dealing with it. So that one consumable is really good for inventory management, because all they have to look at the machine is like, how big is the roll? Okay, if roll is very small, put an extra roll there just in case. It's like, okay, it ran out, done. That's why it's very efficient from business point of view. And rolls allows them another advantage. Again, in stickers you don't have to worry about it, but when you are talking about bills, you have an issue where some people can only buy two things. So it's like, okay, I had 5-6 things, bill is this small. But sometimes people get creative, they get emotional, and their bill is like da, 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 da. Again, you don't want to give them in multiple, you know, A4 sheets, or you do not want to give them a file, you just want to give them a receipt. This is like, I got this. They can go long, I mean really long. So this allows custom length, which is very desirable for many needs. Basically, if you do not want to waste extra paper, A4 sheet, if you are using your laser printer, it's fixed every time. Even if somebody is buying one equipment, you are wasting A4 paper. If you are buying multiple equipments, then you may be wasting the last page. So that's a serious issue. This does not face that. So business efficiency of this sort of equipment is really amazing. Heck, in terms of basically electric meters who are coming and, like, you know, measuring our power consumption, they're giving us like this long printouts. So that's why the efficiency on this thing is very awesome. Now, what about the uses of this thing? Well, this is one of those things that I can guarantee, like 100% guarantee, that you have used it, meaning you have hold a receipt of it. So it's generally found in point of sale system, ATM machines, fuel depots, billing system. Basically, electricians are generally coming around with this thing. Like, again, this is a bit wider variant. He has a much smaller one, and you can find you know, Polaroid variant of that. Again, those are not for long-term use because this inherently fades. That's the biggest limitation of that. It has no long-lasting stability, meaning even if you put it, like, you know, somewhere in the car, and like, let's say car heats up during sunshine, it will fade. Now, again, it's a very desirable for company point of view. A company will like, dude, we're gonna return your product, just bring us the bill. It's like, you're like, okay, I'm very smart, I'm gonna, like, you know, keep the bill in the folder. You open the folder, it's like, bill is like, ta-da. What bill? What bill? So that's one of those things. And you will notice that people now in Amazon's, like, for the basically stickers that are, like, you know, handling the logistics department, they are like very short lived, because again, it's no purpose after 1 or 2 months. Generally, all companies do test their equipment to last 2 months. That is like desirable for shipping purposes. 2 months it should survive. If it dies before that, they will consider it low grade equipment. So 2 months, okay, after that, but after that, good luck. And I have noticed that many of the actual bills, they are now printed in laser printer, simply because that's far long lasting. That allows Amazon to track it. And, like, again, if you have equipment that has a warranty for 2 years, you need that receipt to survive for 2 years. So that's the use of this. So be very mindful. They are very short lived. Heck, now there are companies that are, like, you know, whose sole job it is, like, you know, bring us our faded receipt and we're gonna restore it. So there are weird cases with this. Basically, if you are dealing with you know, short lifespan equipments, meaning shipping labels, awesome. Anything other than that, not really that good. So this was my presentation on basically thermal printer. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. I would urge you to leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.